As any good meeting starts at PGE, I'd like to start with a safety moment. How's that for tradition? There is an exit to my right over behind that young man who's looking like he's going to wave at me. There you go. Thank you. And the exit to my left, where it says exit, there is an AED hanging on the wall over here. We're next to the restrooms. At our age, we need to know where the AEDs are at all times. There was a fun discussion going around of what AED stands for. Nobody knows? Automatic external defibrillator. Roger had to look that up for me. And with that, I see a lot of pictures and selfies going on. I really would love for you to post those to our Facebook page, our Facebook group. We can grab those selfies and use them in our communications out to the almost 900 people that subscribe to our organization. So get to Facebook if you can with lots of pictures. Other than that, my understanding is any minute now, they are on at 12 o'clock sharp, they're going to start serving the food. Around 12:30, as the food gets eaten, we'll start our program for the evening. We will end the program at around 1 o'clock or so. Hello again. Can I get everybody's attention? Hi, we have some guests and some announcements, some short updates from a couple of our officers from Portland General Electric. I know that the last table just got served, but we're going to need to start to keep things a little bit on schedule. I'd like to start with a moment of silence with everyone, because on our website we have a list of people that we know have passed on. We are a retirees group, and we want to honor all those people and share some thoughts for them, celebrate their lives. But also, I'm very thankful for what we have as my wife and I and our situation, and I think we wouldn't be here without the time we had at PGE. And I'm also encouraging everybody to be generous. I know this is one of the most generous groups around with their time and talent, and to be thanked and to be hopeful. Kathy and I have been binge watching the movie channels on Hallmark. Hallmark has 2 movie channels instead of watching the local news, and our lives are much better for it. So highly recommend. Do not watch CNN. Find the Hallmark channels and try to guess the plot before you get to the end of the game we play at home. But please, let's have a moment of silence and to honor all those things. Thank you. I want to thank all the people who made cash or food donations to the food bank over on the table over there. So if you haven't, just drop a dollar or two in there if you forgot to bring your cans of food. And I want to really thank Leanne Hadley and the people at PGE downtown. I understand there's some big box of stuff that you have to bring your truck, or did it fit in the trunk? But they didn't kind of outdid themselves, as Leanne usually does, hint, hint, and she needs a raise and a notable achievement award. They still get notable achievement award.
Spotlight.
Spotlight is that what they call it now?
Yeah.
Things change. Reminders, use the My Community to record your volunteer hours. You can still get those in. You can still generate cause cards that go to your favorite charity. Also, the Timothy Lake Lodge reservation system is open to retirees for the pool. So if you send an email to PGE retirees email address, we can give you that link and show you how to make an online requests. So there are things you can do there. I want to introduce some special guests and volunteers that are here today, because some people went, I know the name, but I don't know the person. So how about Ann Mercereau, Larry Beckadal, and Leanne Sneed from Portland General Electric. They're going to have some updates. We asked them to give them some updates about what the heck is going on downtown with that company. The board of directors, I'm really pleased this year. We have two new board of directors, Jay Tinker and Minhan Tran. Jay's here. Where's Jay? Is Minhan couldn't make it today?
She's over there.
Okay.
She's over there.
Way over there. Way there you go. So you have a very active board of directors. I invite you to come to the meetings, even if you're not on the board, and participate. Would all the board of directors that are currently board of directors in Jay and Minhan please stand so people can get a face of the people there. I'll introduce somebody with a lot. Thank you, really good. There are a series of activity groups that have really started to be more active. We have an active pickleball group, hiking group, etc. If you're leading one of those groups, the hiking, the pickleball, what all is going on? We've got Door for golf, travel is Deb Schraller, books or Steve West, it's a book club. Minhan and Jay do the pickleball and any others that are going on. Please reach out to us and join some of those groups or start up your own. I understand Minhan Tran has 2 sets of Mahjong. And so there's some desire to learn Mahjong and play as a group setting. So one of the things we do in the Retirees Association is to help people get connected, stay active. We can help you. Reach out to us. ComCom, which is the Communications Committee, is one of the hearts of all our communications, our website, our emails, a lot of newsletters. Could I have them all stand, please? Give them a hand. And, oh, I had a last minute phone call and some emails and even text. We have a special guest today who has something special in mind. Santa Claus is here. This is our own retiree, Ted Mom.
Whoa. Well, somewhere down the bowels of my bag, I do have a present. So, first of all, I'd like to let you know, I'm glad to see everyone here. Microphone. You mean you can't hear me without the microphone?
That's me.
We're old.
You're old?
We need to hear you.
Okay, so just want to let you know that all the religious holidays are, they include the joy of giving. And in the words of Sandra Bullock, in the movie, Miss Congeniality, if I can get the dentures correct, I too wish for world peace. But I recently received several letters from several people in this room, and they were asking for a special gift for a special retiree. She has served in a position of secretary on the PGE Retiree Board of Directors for more years than anyone can remember. And she has supported the past 3 presidents as well as the incoming president. So I have an early Christmas present to deliver to Darlene Judkins.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, Ted flew in.
Slade in.
I guess we had an election and I will be the outgoing president. This is my last official event. And I've reflected on the past few years of what I had to do as president, and Terry Judkins and Stan Chiodi. We went through COVID years and had to learn what the heck MailChimp was, and Zoom and websites and WordPress. That was a fun challenge. I think we have a great team that took that on and won. And then we had to decide, oh, by the way, we have to build our own database. We have to build our own emailing system. It's been a really interesting few years, but thank you all the volunteers and people that jumped on board. I think we are at a nice level point now. We have a stable membership, and what's growing all the time, it seems like Facebook is growing quite well. We're over 600 now, I think, on Facebook group. It's a private group, only people, we screen people. Wouldn't believe the complaints we get. What do you mean I can't join? Well, you're a consultant. We don't let consultants in here. We occasionally have a person saying, well, yeah, I'm a retiree of Pacific Gas and Electric. But we have to screen them out. So it is a very private group, and it's a good piece to belong to. So that's kind of my messages of the past. I want to turn this over to Greg Wright, our incoming president for 2024. And as was passed off to me there, before Zoom, there was a gavel. And it says PGE retirees. It looks like it was made in the shop at one of our distant places, but I'm honoring you. Here is the gavel.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate that, your kind words. I've said this to a few people already today. You know, when John called me a few years ago and said, hey, do you want to be vice president? I should have thought forward, like, what does that mean? President someday. So here I am. But I'm really pleased and honored to be here and follow in the footsteps of John and others on this. They have done such a great job building the foundation, the vision that has made this group, this organization what it is today. And I just hope that I can honor that tradition moving forward. That is my hope, and I've got some great support from our board. Just a couple things. This is a great organization. I really have had fun being a part of this organization the last few years. It's great to retire from PGE and then connect with people that you worked with for so many years and have a connection with the company that you worked with, in my case, for decades. So I really am very pleased to be part of this organization. It's great. I mean, look at this group here. We have this holiday luncheon every year. We have our picnic in the summer. And there's a lot of things that all of you can help us with, because the organization exists because of the board and the hard work that we do, but it's fun work. So if you're at all interested, I would encourage all of you to think about how you can participate on our board of directors, or just be a member of a committee, or if you have a passion and want to start an interest group, you can do that as well. All this information you can find on our website at pgeretirees.org. So I really encourage you to do that. So at this point, and also on your table, you should find cards that have all this information, so you don't have to remember or take notes of what I just said. So now at this point, I'd like to introduce our two officers that are here to speak with us today. I always enjoy seeing Ann and now Larry. I appreciate you being here. So Ann is up first. Ann Mercereau is our Vice President of Human Resources, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I think I got that remembered. So with that, I'll let Ann take over.
Greg. It's so great to be with all of you today. And I was asking earlier, this event looks even bigger than it was last year. I heard that you're up to 150, so it's so good to see so many people turning out and being together, which is kind of what I'm going to talk about just for a few moments about how important people are to the company, both people that are actively employed at PGE and then all of you, the retirees. I firmly believe that people are the lifeblood of our company. Our assets and all the things we do that are hard, metal in the ground things are super important. And many of you worked on building those or maintaining those, and they certainly deliver our products and services to our customers. But it all happens because of people. And I'm so pleased to see how vibrant this group is and how it continues to grow. I love that you guys added a pickleball group this last year, and just encourage you to keep going, because I think connection is so important for all of us. There's so much, as you said, John, if you turn on the TV to feel really down about and just sort of pulled into sort of the morass of what's happening for others in the world. And I would just encourage all of us to continue to be grateful and look for a sense of connection with one another, and thinking about the things that we can control in our lives and doing those things exceptionally well. So with that, I want to talk about, I'm going to do some data. Yay, data. So just a couple of things I want to share around engagement that is a proof point, I think, for employees and for retirees in terms of your commitment to our community. So this year, 62% of all PGE employees participated in the matching gift program, which is our high for the organization, and pledged, including the company match, almost 1.6 million back into the community, which I think is pretty remarkable. And then 27% of all employees have volunteered this year. And we think that that number is probably low, because to the point you're making, like, you got to remember to go into My Community and record your hours. So please remember to go into My Community and record your hours. I got to remember to do that too. We had almost 800 employees volunteer for a total of 13,319 hours this year. So I thought that was pretty remarkable, which is equivalent to 550 days worth of volunteering. And because of that, PGE gave out more than $50,000 worth of gift those cause cards that could then be repurposed back out into the community. Almost 100 retirees have submitted a donation and applied to PGE's 50% match in My Community so far in 2023. And if you haven't done it yet, you have something pending out there, make sure you get that in. And that was for a total of almost 190,000 when you include the company match. So thank you for that, and congratulations for that number. And this year alone, almost 50 of you have uploaded volunteer hours, which are equivalent to 5,000, almost 5,550 hours, which is equivalent to 228 days of volunteering. Additionally, retirees have redeemed 130 cause cards so far this year for a total of $13,000 back out into our community. So I just think all of that is pretty remarkable and incredible. And when I talk to my peers that have a similar job, out in our community, they're overwhelmed at like what this organization does in terms of your generosity and how much people care, either through their time or their talents, and it makes a difference. I was at the Oregon Business Summit yesterday, and our governor spoke there. And I have to say that I was highly encouraged for the plan for Portland. And I know that, a lot has happened and people are, what's happening to Portland, et cetera. And I was really encouraged at the work that has been done by a group of business people that she appointed to really think about how do we revitalize Portland and how do we think about that for the rest of our state. Which I do want to talk a little bit about our workforce too before I close up here. So, something that's really important as part of our guiding behaviors, which I talked about last year, is valuing differences, and how do we think about people being able to bring their whole self and their talents to the organization on behalf of our customers. And today, almost a quarter of our workforce are people of color, and 26% of our leadership team are people of color, and a third of our workforce are women, and 35% of our leadership team are made up of women. So we've steadily made progress in diversifying our workforce, which has been really important to the organization. We made a commitment to reflect the community that we serve, and we're continuing to invest in hiring, training, and retaining, which is where you all come in. I very much appreciate when you recommend people to PGE, or you encourage people that are currently at PGE, you know, in terms of career exploration, so that they continue to stay with the organization and be a vibrant part of the organization. And then I know people are interested perhaps in turnover rate. And I'm pleased to say that for 2023, we're forecasting a turnover rate of about 8 to 9%, which is down from 10.5% last year. We haven't seen this low of numbers since about 2016. And so I think people are kind of settling in after COVID and finding their pathways and connections at the organization. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Larry, but I do want to just reiterate my appreciation for all that you do to create connections with one another and connections with our community and the community, your neighborhoods and your communities, et cetera. It's really important, both, I think, in terms of who we are as PGE and importantly, who we are and how we show up in the world. So with that, Larry is going to talk about kind of the hard stuff around transmission and distribution and some cool things that he's leading to innovate the organization. So your turn.
All right, thank you, Ann. Good afternoon. I'm seeing all the smiling faces. What happens with retirement? There's something about that. But I was loving hearing that the Mahjong getting started, paddle board, pickleball, excuse me. I heard somebody say wine club over here too.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do the wine club. So I was almost enticed until I heard somebody say we have a committee on email. Can we cut that out? Oh. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And Ann, she's a hard act to follow. But what a pleasure to see you all. There's been a lot happening in the company, which no surprise to any of you who have lived through a lot of change that has happened in our lifetimes and the careers that we've been through. And so I'm going to share a few of those thoughts with you that have been happening. And I'll reflect really quickly back to 2020. We had a microburst over there by Round Butte blew over 3 miles of transmission, 500 kV transmission towers. That seemed to kind of start things, because by that fall, we had an energy issue. We then had a wildfire Labor Day. We then had a ice storm that took place in the spring of 2021. And then we had a heat dome that hit 116 degrees here in Portland that summer. And, all these 1 in 40, 1 in 50 year events. And for those of you that were still working at that time, you just felt it. It was like, man, what are we going through here? What are all these changes? And I will just say that it continues a little bit. And so I want to share some of the story, because wildfire didn't go away. And I think all of you recognize that if you've paid attention on Hawaii, what took place on Maui. Staggering. I mean, it just really was an eye-opener for our industry. Pacific Corp, the lawsuits here in Oregon. If Berkshire Hathaway wasn't behind Pacific Corp, they wouldn't have the liquidity to take capital and be able to build anything in Oregon. They would be in trouble, much like Pacific Gas and Electric did down in California. The bankruptcies, really, really tough. So we're thinking about wildfire. How do we get ahead of it? How do we use technology? I won't spend a lot of time, but one of them that was really cool came out of EPRI. An individual, Jay Landstrom, many of you know Jay, took that idea and said, hey, let's put cameras out there that have intelligence in them. So you don't have to sit there and watch, but it sees smoke. As soon as it sees smoke, it reports out to you and tells you where it's at. And oh, by the way, we're going to open it up to all the fire departments and everybody, the state, the forestry, et cetera. So we now have over 30 of those, in the region. We put weather stations with them, so we see what's going on. We can predict what's going to happen with fire conditions. And so we're trying to move ourselves in that direction to get really good with fire. But then, in 2022, we did have some great legislation. I think, it was starting to happen that our industry is changing. We need support infrastructure. So the infrastructure bill was passed. For us, it's electric utilities. That's about $14 billion. The first tranche went out. We applied for that just over a year ago. And out of the $3.5 billion that was released, PGE, we got $500 million.
Wow.
Yeah, very surprising, and a couple of projects. Those of you who are familiar with the Confederate Tribes of Warm Springs, we've gone together with them. They actually lead on the project, but as co-owners of the hydro facilities, we said, gee, why don't we link up, look at the transmission, what we could do, and with the reservation properties, what they want to put solar on the facilities out there. How could we translate that, bring it into our service area? And so the Bethel Roundview line, some of you probably worked on it, 230 kV line. We're going to convert it to 500 kV, and that was 250 of the 500 million that we will do. For those of you that are familiar with Boardman plant, obviously was taken down. We're going to put a hydrogen hub, a hydrogen facility there. And that again with Mitsubishi, Williams, we are partnering with them. That was a $250 million portion of our grant award as well. So we're very excited to, Mitsubishi will own the electrolysis and we'll take the gas. We'll have generators there that we'll use. And so much like a battery, when the renewables are generating, we can actually turn it into something we can hold on to and then use it when we need it. So that's the first phase of that. We'll then look to expand the gas lines over to Carty and Coyote Springs, and then convert, putting 30% gas hydrogen into those plants as well. So that's kind of the futuristic look into the 2030 timeframe. If I could get it today, I'd do it today, but it's going to take us some time to build through that. The third one was a grid edge and a $50 million grant for us to look at autonomy at the grid edge. And so I'll share with you just a thought that your meter becomes something much more than just a meter. For those that have a disconnect switch in a meter, and you think about converting and using it as a device that you have to put an auto transfer switch on if you want generation in your home to be operating and separate yourself from the utility. So when the service from the utility goes out, you can use your own generation. Well, our meter can do that and talk to the inverters that is in your solar and your battery or in your generator and make that switch. All of a sudden you save customers, I think in a typical, and I see Conrad hiding back there, it's probably about $10,000 to put that auto transfer switch into your house. So if we save you as a customer $10,000 by putting some software into our meter, how do we take advantage of those things? So those are exciting parts that we think about autonomy on the edge of the grid. We're going to be moving that way very quickly. But that autonomy comes a little bit at a price. So talked about the grants for us as utilities. The chip manufacturers, $280 billion being given to chip manufacturers. State of Oregon already released $240 million from the state to the chip manufacturers. So Intel and all the other support, 15% of all chips actually in the world are produced in the Portland area. 15%. Pretty staggering when you think about, what that means. One of the companies, ADI, just recently took a 4-story building. They had clean rooms. They built the chips on 2 floors. The lower 2 were storage and utility. They built those out and actually doubled their capacity, $1 billion investment on their part, and it's about 15 megawatts to us. But that doubled their production. So we're going to see about $40 billion of investment come here to the greater Portland area for all the chip manufacturers. So those of you that are calculating in your heads, okay, how much load does that mean? How are we going to serve those customers? Keep thinking that, because I may need you to come help me solve the problem. Transportation electrification. 1 in every 6 cars now in the state of Oregon are electric. By show of hands, how many of you have electric? Now, something that I would mention is that, Bill turned me on to this, first getting a Tesla and having the auto drive in it. I'm thinking, gosh, when I get to retirement, I'm going to like that auto driving. It's going to take over things for me. And it has been a lot of fun. It puts fun back into driving is the way I look at it. I kind of feel like I'm back in high school and you can explore it, the acceleration, etc. Okay, enough of that, but it is a lot of fun, but you're seeing that load come and fleet services is a huge piece. And we just have a new board member who's stepping on to the PG board from Daimler, which is a great connection for us to think about transportation. And so fleet service is going to be a big adder to our system. But the third one that I'll throw into the mix is data centers. Everybody familiar with data centers? Well, we have all this processing, that email that we talked about and complain about. But now it's artificial intelligence, it's machine learning, generative AI, the chat GPTs. But I would say that things like autonomous vehicles haven't even started yet. And when you think about all the data that's happening, we've been partnering with NVIDIA, who is helping us with our grid edge. They have chips that now have created all of this artificial intelligence. They take what's called a GPU, general processing unit, graphical processing unit, with a CPU, and it creates the ability to parallel process many times faster than what the old CPU could do. And so now all of a sudden this generative AI becomes a reality. But that's a lot of storage, it's a lot of data that's happening. And so I'll just say that our appetite as a society for all that information, that data, has got to go somewhere. We have over 2 gigawatts of requests right now for data centers on our system in Hillsborough. And, you know, as we work through that and as we solve and think, at 2 gigawatts on a 4.5 gigawatt system, that's what we're talking about. So it is staggering to think, how do we solve, how do we do this? There are data centers now that are being built in the Midwest, and they're looking globally, that are a gigawatt in a plant. So harken back to the aluminum industry and when it started here in the Northwest. And, you know, a 100 megawatt plant was pretty normal. They had 5 pot lines in it. And you could call them and say, can you shut down a pot line? And they could flex for the system and system operators. And so we're heading that same space. And how do we get flexibility? How do we use that for the betterment of all of us? And so I share that to you just to contemplate a little bit of the challenges, a little bit of the changes that are happening on our system and how we approach, you know, what we do every day. So one thing that I just throw out, you'll hear a term probably much more common in the future. It's called the virtual power plant. I'm just saying that everything in your home, everything in your business, as technology advances. I mean, my toothbrush has technology in it today, intelligence. And my hot water tank knows when I'm going to take a shower. You're going to see that with all your appliances. Now, how do we figure out how to best balance that so that the peaks get pushed down and we better utilize the entire system? That's the world we're going to. Conrad remembers this from his hot water days, heater days, but that's going to be in everything that we do. And it's changing the face of what is a utility and how we network and how we work together. But, you know, the thing I'm most proud of, PGE started a lot of this. And it was something that really attracted me to this company, whether it was the transmission line, the first, what was a DC turned single phase AC to 3-phase AC to downtown Portland from Willamette Falls, first in the nation. The bill brings back the radio. The first radio in a utility vehicle was here at PGE. We keep pushing the edge here at PGE, and we're trying to do and create things that are different and better. And so with that, I want to say thank you to all of you. Well, you kind of have to recognize the people that went before you and how important that was and how we continue that today. So thank you all. Really appreciate the time, and I'll turn it back over to Greg. I see a hand in the back. Do you allow?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, great. Thank you.
Well, and Larry, thank you so much for your presentations. I always enjoy hearing about what's going on at PGE. It reminds me just how much I love working there for so many years and enjoy having that connection. And I was a little bit remiss when I introduced Ann and her child. Larry is our Senior Vice President of Strategy and Advanced Energy Delivery. Did I get that right? So thank you again. Well, that concludes our our event today. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I'm so glad to see all of you here. And just once again, I want to remind you that these cards are on the table, so if you want to take them, to remind you who to call or who to reach out to learn more about our organization, or even better, pass them on to our colleagues that aren't here today. That would be great.